If you're seeing this, then you're probably a big fan of Witch Hat Atelier. And like me and many others, maybe you decided that you want to cosplay this absolutely scrumptious man right here. But maybe you need some help getting started. Well, you come to the right place. I've documented the entire process of making my Qifrey cosplay, and here's my 5th video in the series, which is going to go over how I made Qifrey's cloak. So let's get started. For the patterning, I want to credit Stars of Cassiopeia. She also did a series breaking down her Qifrey cosplay, and I used her pattern for the cloak as inspiration for my pattern. I made one pattern piece for the back that I'll be cutting on the fold, and one for the front pieces. I used the same pattern for both the cowl and the main cape. Before the main cape, I just extended the line with a ruler to get it to my desired length. Now it's time to construct your pieces, starting with the cowl. I cut out 6 pieces total so I can backline the entire thing so that there won't be any raw edges showing underneath the cloak. First, I ironed some interfacing to the lining layer with Pelon 931 TD. Afterwards, I sewed the cowl pieces together into 2 separate layers. I put both layers right sides together and sewed along the edge, leaving a gap at the top where the longer cape would attach to. I sewed my cape pieces together using a French seam to also hide any raw edges. A French seam is basically where you sew your pieces wrong sides together, cut the seam allowance till it's very short, and then sew it again right sides together so that it encases the raw edges. Once the cape was done, I just sewed it into the gap I left in the cowl, and now it's time for buttons. I started by measuring and marking where I wanted the buttonholes to go before heading over to my sewing machine to sew my buttonholes. If your machine doesn't have a buttonhole setting, all you have to do is set your stitch type to a zigzag stitch and then lower your stitch length to the lowest setting. And then you're just gonna zigzag stitch all around the marking that you made and then cut out your buttonhole using a seam ripper, being very careful not to cut any of the stitches you just made. And then I just sewed the buttons into the cape layer and then added this gold tassel in the back. Now this is completely optional, but I went ahead and added some fun trim along the edges of the cowl. And after spending what seemed like an eternity hemming all the raw edges of this cape, I was done. Hope this was helpful. Up next, I'm going to be going over how I made his white tunic, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching.